Theodore Roosevelt was not only the 26th President of the United States, but a man with a diverse set of accomplishments.
Theodore Roosevelt would wear many different hats during his long career. He served as Governor of New York, Vice President and President, Nobel Prize recipient, and a hunter and explorer. Roosevelt attended Harvard. A year after leaving in 1881, he was elected to the New York State Assembly. In 1884, Roosevelt's wife, Alice Lee, died shortly after giving birth to their daughter Alice. Roosevelt would abandon his child and his political career to live as a cattle rancher in the American West for 2 years. Roosevelt would return to New York in 1886. It was in Cove Neck, New York that he would build his home, Sagamore Hill. Roosevelt would serve as a tenacious superintendent of the New York police force from 1895 to 1897. President William McKinley was impressed by Roosevelt and the results he achieved in New York. In 1897, he appointed him as the Assistant Secretary of Navy. In February of 1898, there was an explosion on the USS Maine while it was patrolling the waters of Spanish-owned Cuba. When the Spanish-American War began that same year, Roosevelt would resign his position as the Assistant Secretary of Navy to form the Rough Riders. Although the Spanish-American War would run from only April to August of 1898, Theodore Roosevelt would become a national war hero. He would use his rising popularity to successfully run for governor of New York in 1899. McKinley asked Roosevelt to run as his vice president in the 1900 election. They easily defeated their Democratic opponent, but McKinley was assassinated shortly after taking office in September of 1901. Roosevelt would run for president in 1904 and easily defeat his Democratic opponent. Here is one of the earliest video and audio recordings of an American president.
The great fundamental issue now before our people can be stated briefly. It is, are the American people fit to govern themselves, to rule themselves, to control themselves? I believe they are.
Roosevelt would serve as the 26th American president from 1901 to 1909. During this time, he made several valuable contributions to our country. As president, he led the effort to set aside over 250 million acres of land in the United States. Most of that land went to national and state parks, such as the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Roosevelt would also create the Food and Drug Administration in 1906. This would help to crack down on the many unscrupulous merchants that were selling tainted food or medicine with illegal drugs in them. Roosevelt would also lead the efforts to complete the Panama Canal in 1914. This would not only increase world trade, but would give the United States a military advantage. Perhaps one of Roosevelt's greatest accomplishments was a Nobel Peace Prize he was awarded in 1906 for negotiating the end to the Russo-Japanese War. He was the first American president to receive this award. Today, Theodore Roosevelt is memorialized on Mount Rushmore in South Dakota.